Hey everyone, welcome back to Up North with the Nybergs. Ed here. It is the middle of December and it is blowing like crazy outside. We ended up getting a really potent storm that came through this morning. It started about, I don't know, middle of the night, maybe 3, 4 o'clock. We lost power at about 4:30 and luckily we've got a wood boiler and we have a whole house generator as well. So you can see that I have light here. It's still blowing pretty good. We still don't have power. We don't have internet. We really don't have anything out here other than we do have heat and electricity, and everything is functioning as normal. Right now the generator is working off of our propane. We have about 1,500 gallon propane capacity, and we've probably got about 1,000 gallons right now, so that should keep us going for a while. But in any event, I thought today would be a really good day. I can't work today. I just don't have any internet, and I don't want to drain too much electricity. So what I thought I would do was go through my chainsaws and clean them. And so I thought, you know, there's a lot of folks out there that are new to chainsaws and how to maintain them. They're completely new to that as well too. So I thought I'd do just a quick tutorial on how I clean them. And this isn't a deep before season clean. This is a mid-season clean where we've been using them out in the woods, clearing snowmobile trails and logging trails back on our 70 acres. And so they get pretty dirty. And so what I thought I would do is just kind of go through on how I clean them. This one here is pretty filthy. You can see it's got a fair amount of sawdust, and you know, it's pretty filthy. I already cleaned 2 of them, so I thought, why not share a video on how I clean them. I cleaned the Stihl MSA 220. This is the battery saw that I have. You can see it's ready to go. And then I also, real quick, I cleaned my favorite saw, which is this Stihl 271 Farm Boss. And you can see it's been cleaned and ready to go. And so I thought I would spend a little bit of time and clean this one and kind of show you how I do it. All right, so let's get to it. All right, let's get started here. A couple things I'll mention right off at the top of this video is whenever you use these chainsaws, and it's been my experience that you'll typically vibrate off some of the nuts and screws on the casing of these. And they're plastic. These things tend to just vibrate off. So that one thing I always do is try and make sure that I'm checking to make sure that these are good and tight. And I can see over here that I am actually missing one right here. Hopefully you can see that, but I'm actually missing one. So what I typically like to do is have extras of these on hand, and they're not super easy to find. You can get them at your Stihl dealership, but other than that, on the internet, you have to look around for them. And same thing with these nuts. They're really difficult to find. I actually found these on eBay, and before I've always had to go to the dealership and get them. Like I said, I'm always tightening them back up, but if you're out in the woods or in the wood yard or something like that, they will invariably fall off and come loose because of the rattling. So that would be the first thing, is make sure you have a couple extra of these screws and nuts as well. The other thing that I use, obviously, I can't remember if this tool came with the Stihl chainsaw. I believe it does. This one might have, this one in particular might have come from a snowmobile, an old snowmobile that I have, but it works really great for cleaning and getting in areas here with this, some of this grime. Then of course a old toothbrush or any kind of brush with relatively soft bristles. I utilize that. And then also I have a little oil can that I use. Remember, this is mid-season, so I'm not going through this completely and pulling everything apart and checking the motor or anything like that. This is essentially just doing routine maintenance during the season. And I like to use a little bit of oil on the bar after I get it all cleaned up. So as you can see, this is pretty filthy. And this particular chain is not that dull, so I don't have to change it out. Last time this was used, it was snowing pretty good, and we were out in the woods, and it was pretty wet and nasty out there. So it got pretty dirty and gunked up. So first thing you do is remove the cover for the chain bar. And you can see it's pretty filthy. A lot of times what I'll do is take one of these clamps over here and just kind of pin it down and then clean it up real well, if you can see that, so that it's not moving around. I don't think I have to do it with this one. This one's not too bad. All right. So let's do that. Before I move anything around or take anything off other than the cover, you can see how filthy this is right here. I mean, this is just all oil, chain oil, just mixed with sawdust and anything else that's on the wood. And so I want to remove all that. So one, obviously it has to come off and be clean, but I want to get as much off before I remove the bar and the chain, so that I don't get a lot of it on the chainsaw itself and also on the workbench. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And for this, I just use a shop vac that I have sitting right here, and then I'll use this tool to just kind of clean things up around here. So let's see if we can get this cleaned up a little bit. I just kind of thought that I feel like a dental hygienist, cleaning the teeth and actually having a suction hose in your mouth. Everybody's familiar with that. That's kind of what I feel like I'm doing right here. All right, you can see by utilizing that, you can get a lot off of it pretty quickly. And I do this a lot, quite frankly. These chainsaws and these housings get pretty filthy pretty quick. And I just like to keep them clean. People say that I'm a little OCD, and I won't argue with that. I just always have tried to do my best to keep all the equipment maintained, and part of that job is to make sure that it's clean. So that's what I do, and it's worked well for me. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove this. I might have to loosen it up a little bit here. There it comes. Let's see here. It still doesn't want to come. Come on. My other one comes off so much easier than this one. It's probably got a little bit of gunk in there as well. All right, I finally got this off. I've never had any trouble getting this bar off before, but as I look in here, I can see that there is a lot of grime and actually, you can actually see a little bit of wear in here that is sticking out a little bit and hanging up a little bit. So I'm going to try and clean that the best I can. but you certainly can see how filthy underneath the bar it is as well too. I mean, this is just a few uses of being out in the woods and utilizing it. Like I said, the chain is fine. I'm just going to clean this up and put it back on, and it'll be ready to go. I also, real quick, I know I mentioned the nut and the screws for these, but I also like to keep these Jackson Palmer kits handy. I don't need it for this, but this is where I store the nut and the screws. But these are Jackson Palmer. They're just really convenient to have a lot of different sizes. And I've got like 3 or 4 of these with different sizes, metric and English, and they really have been a lifesaver. So I just wanted to show you those. All right, so back to the shop vac. All right, looking at this post here with the chain bar, it's pretty gouged up pretty good. I actually bought this used, and I bought it from my dealer, so I'm not the original owner of this particular Stihl chainsaw. It was, I guess, refurbished or hardly used, and so far it's worked out great, but I can see where the teeth on this is starting to get wear down a little bit. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but you can see where they're starting to get worn down, and I think that's part of the problem of trying to get this bar bar off of this. But that is a project for the springtime job, because we still use these, and we're still using them now here. Like I said, today's bad weather and most of our snow has melted, but we're still out clearing trails, and I still need to use these. So next I'll just make sure that I use the toothbrush and just get clean this as much as I can here. Get the channel as well. You want to make sure the chain can go through this really easy. Should get all the dirt and grime out of it. I don't really like this setup versus my 271 Farm Boss. This setup is there's just so much gunk that can get trapped in here and in between this wheel and the bar itself. I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of gunk in there, and it's really difficult to get that out without having to do a lot of brushing and cleaning. And then you got to go back and forth. You can see it start to push some of it out of there. Good whack never hurts anything. All right, let's see here. Give it a nice good wipe down again, and it's, for the most part, it's pretty clean, and this is moving freely now, much freer as well. Okay, so now At this point, you know, for the most part, it's pretty clean. At least, like I said, this is just a mid-season cleaning. I'd like to see it get a lot cleaner before I use it. And typically will do that once a year, where I take the housing off and clean all around the motor and replace spark plugs and that kind of thing. So, but that's not what's happening today. All right. Let's go ahead and put this back on here. Put the chain on the bar. Make sure that it is going correctly, which it is. I don't know if you've ever done that. I haven't yet. Put it on the wrong way. But if you use chainsaws, you're going to do that at some point. All right, this is going to be kind of the same issue getting it on. You can hear it kind of going on pretty rough. Okay, now I just want to kind of finger tighten this, make sure that it's lined up really well. Everything looks good there. And I usually just screw this on just a little bit here, just to kind of hold it in place. Make sure everything's good to go, and then I'll slowly click it down, make sure it's good, and then I'll tighten it up. Oops. Sometimes you got to loosen this up just to get it right so it's not pinched anywhere. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of this setup. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's moving on the bar pretty well. So then I'll just slowly tighten that just a little bit. I don't want it too tight. And then I've noticed with my battery operated chainsaw, I need to make sure that the chain is relatively tight. And on these, not as much as the battery-powered chainsaw. That's the MSA 220. So, but this one, I'll typically do just a little more. And a lot of times, what I'll end up doing is out in the field when the chain gets warm or hot at that point, this will tend to get even a little bit looser, and you'll have to tighten it down. So for right now, that's where I'm going to leave it because I want to put a little bit of oil in between. I could have put this on the bar itself, but then you end up with a mess. And so I'll just put a little bit on here. Wipe this off so you don't get it all over the place, and then I'll run that a little bit again. It's pretty smooth right now. There we go. Make sure it's good and lubricated. And then at this point, this might be just a little bit too loose, but I'll leave it until I get out in the field and adjust it if I need it. But to me, it feels just a little bit loose. So I might just turn that up a little, and then give it just a little, maybe a quarter turn. There it goes. All right, perfect. All right, I like that a little better. Okay. And then at this point, you know, it's clean for the most part. As you can see, I still have a little bit on this side. What I'll do is kind of do the same thing. I'll just use the shop vac, get all this out of the way, and clean it. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you can check it out. All right, around the reservoirs for fuel and oil, chain bar oil, you see that I really work this pretty hard and I clean out as much as I can. I do this in the field as well too. Anytime I'm opening these up, I am making sure that I have a rag and a toothbrush, and before I open it up and refill everything, I clean it really, really well. And that's just obviously to make sure you don't get any foreign material in either one of these reservoirs. Even though they have filters in them, you're really doing yourself a big favor by making sure that you keep it clean and make sure no foreign material falls in there. That's really, really important. So at this point, it's pretty much done. I'll add some chain oil and some fuel in here, and this machine is ready to go. Next time I come in here, I will replace the chain with a sharpened chain, and then I'll do everything that you just saw again. And then typically in the spring is when I will pull everything apart and really start to get into it and clean it off. As I mentioned, I am missing one screw over here, so I'm going to put that on. All right, so there you have it. That's kind of how I do a mid-season cleaning. I know that most of you that operate chainsaws do something similar or maybe a little bit different, and you do it quite often. But I thought this video would just allow some folks that are relatively new to kind of the maintenance of a chainsaw, and so that's why I thought I would do a quick video. Like I said, every 2 or 3 times that I take this in the field, I do this. I go through this and clean it and make sure that it's operating appropriately, because it makes your life so much easier when you're out in the field cutting down trees and clearing off trails. So that's it. If you find value in these videos, be sure to subscribe, share it with your family and friends. And until next week, this is Ed with Up North with the Nybergs, and thank you very much for watching.